Have you ever watched an English video and thought, I understand this? But when you listen to real English, everything becomes difficult? Maybe people speak too fast. Maybe you know many English words. But when they come together in a sentence, you feel lost. Maybe you stop the video again and again because you think your English is not good enough. If this has happened to you, don't worry. You are not alone. And today, I want to help you change that. In this lesson, we are not going to study difficult grammar. We are not going to memorize a long vocabulary list. We are simply going to train your ears, because before you can speak English confidently, you must learn to listen comfortably. Listening is not a talent. It is a skill, and every skill becomes better with practice. So today, I want you to relax. Do not try to understand every single word. Do not translate everything into your own language. Just listen. Enjoy the English. Trust your brain. Little by little, your listening will become stronger. By the end of this lesson, you will understand more English, learn useful everyday expressions, and feel much more confident when listening to native and fluent speakers. So find a quiet place, take a deep breath, and let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Horizon. I'm Hamza, and I'm really happy that you're here today. Today's lesson is a special listening practice lesson. This lesson is designed for beginners and intermediate English learners. I will speak slowly and clearly. I will use simple English. I will explain everything step by step. So don't worry if you don't understand everything the first time. That is completely normal. Remember, the goal is not to understand every word. The goal is to understand a message. Every time you listen to English, your brain becomes stronger. Every time you hear a new sentence, your brain learns new patterns. And after enough practice, those patterns become natural. That is exactly how children learn their first language. They listen first, then they understand, then they begin to speak. You can do the same. So during this lesson, I want you to do 3 simple things. First, listen carefully. Second, imagine the situation in your mind. Third, repeat useful sentences after the video if you want extra practice. Don't rush. Don't compare yourself with other learners. Just keep listening. Every minute of practice is making you better. Now, let's start our first easy listening story. Listening Story 1. Now let's begin with our first listening story. As you listen, don't worry about understanding every word. Just relax and follow the story. Imagine the situation in your mind. It is Monday morning. The weather is cool and sunny. A young man wakes up at 7 o'clock. He turns off his alarm and stretches his arms. For a few minutes, he wants to stay in bed because it feels a little sleepy. But then he smiles and says, "Today is going to be a good day." He gets out of bed, opens the window, and lets some fresh air into the room. He makes his bed before doing anything else. Then he goes to the bathroom, washes his face, brushes his teeth, and gets ready for the day. After that, he walks into the kitchen. He's a little hungry. He prepares a simple breakfast. He makes 2 eggs, toasts 2 slices of bread, and pours a cup of hot tea. While he is eating, he looks outside the window. People are walking to work. Some students are waiting for the school bus. A man is walking his dog. Everything looks peaceful. After breakfast, he washes the dishes. He puts on his shoes, picks up his backpack, checks that he has his phone, wallet, and keys, and leaves the house. As he walks down the street, he greets his neighbor with a friendly smile. The neighbor says, "Good morning." He replies, "Good morning. Have a nice day." A few minutes later, he arrives at the bus stop. Several people are already waiting there. Some are looking at their phones. Some are drinking coffee. Some are quietly watching the traffic. The bus arrives on time. Everyone gets on the bus. He finds an empty seat near the window. As the bus moves through the city, he watches people starting their day. Some shops are opening. People are crossing the road. Cyclists are riding to work. The city slowly becomes busier. He feels happy because every new day brings new opportunities. That was our first listening story. Now let's talk about some useful expressions from the story. The first expression is, "Today is going to be a good day." This is a very positive sentence. People often say it in the morning when they want to start the day with confidence. You can also say, "Today is going to be amazing." "Today is going to be busy." "Today is going to be exciting." The second expression is, "Have a nice day." This is one of the most common English expressions. People say it when they leave someone. For example, after shopping, after talking to a neighbor, or after meeting a friend. It is simple, polite, and very natural. Another useful expression is, he picks up his backpack. The phrasal verb pick up has many meanings. Here, it simply means to take something in your hand before leaving. For example, I picked up my phone. She picked up her bag. They picked up their books. These are very common sentences in everyday English. Now, I want you to think about your own morning. What time do you wake up? What do you usually eat for breakfast? How do you travel to work or school? Try answering these questions in English. Don't worry if your English is not perfect. Just keep speaking. Every sentence you make is another step toward becoming more confident in English. Now, take a moment, relax, and get ready for our next listening story. Listening Story 2. Now let's continue with another easy listening story. This time, imagine that you are in a supermarket. It is Saturday afternoon. The supermarket is clean, bright, and full of people. Some people are pushing shopping carts. Some are carrying baskets. Children are walking with their parents. Soft music is playing in the background. A woman walks into the supermarket with a small shopping list. She doesn't want to buy too many things. She only needs food for the weekend. First, she goes to the fruit and vegetable section. She looks at the apples. Some are red, some are green. She picks up one apple and checks if it is fresh. Then she chooses 6 apples and puts them into a small bag. Next, she buys bananas, tomatoes, potatoes, onions, and carrots. Everything looks fresh today. After that, she walks to the dairy section. She takes a bottle of milk, a small box of butter, and some cheese. She also buys a carton of eggs. Then she remembers that she needs bread. She goes to the bakery section. The smell of fresh bread fills the air. She smiles because fresh bread is one of her favorite foods. She picks up a loaf of bread and places it carefully in her shopping cart. Now she walks through another aisle. She sees rice, pasta, cooking oil, sugar, tea, and coffee. She buys only the things she really needs. She does not want to waste money. Before going to the checkout counter, she looks at her shopping list one more time. Everything is there. She is happy because she didn't forget anything. She waits in line for a few minutes. When it is her turn, the cashier smiles and says, "Good afternoon." She smiles back and says, "Good afternoon." The cashier scans each item carefully. Finally, the cashier says, "Your total is $28. She pays for the groceries, thanks the cashier, takes her shopping bags, and walks home. The shopping trip was simple, quick, and successful. Now let's learn some useful English from this story. The first expression is, I only need a few things. This is a very common sentence. You can use it when you don't want to buy many items. For example, I only need a few minutes. I only need a little help. I only need one more question. Another useful expression is, she checks if it is fresh. When you buy fruit or vegetables, people often check if they are fresh. For example, I always check if the milk is fresh. He checked if the bread was fresh. The next expression is, she doesn't want to waste money. This is another useful everyday sentence. For example, I don't want to waste time. We don't want to waste food. They don't want to waste water. Notice the pattern. You can change the last word and use this sentence in many different situations. Finally, remember this sentence. She didn't forget anything. Native English speakers use this expression very often. For example, I didn't forget your birthday. He didn't forget his homework. We didn't forget the tickets. Now I have a small challenge for you. Imagine you are going shopping today. What would you buy? Try to answer in English. You can say, I would buy some fruit. I need bread and milk. I also want some coffee. Keep your sentences simple. Simple English is good English. The more you practice simple sentences, the easier it becomes to speak naturally. Great job. Now take a short break, relax your mind, and get ready for our next listening story. Listening Story 3. Welcome back. I hope you are still listening carefully. Remember, you do not need to understand every single word. Just keep listening. Your brain is learning with every sentence. Now let's listen to another real-life story. This story takes place in a small coffee shop. It is early in the evening. The weather is a little cold, so many people decide to have a hot drink. The coffee shop is warm and quiet. Soft music is playing. Some people are talking with their friends. Others are working on their laptops. A young man walks into the coffee shop. He looks around for an empty table. After a few seconds, he finds one near the window. He sits down and takes a deep breath. It has been a busy day. A friendly barista walks over and smiles. "Good evening. What would you like to order?" The young man smiles and says, "I'd like a large cup of coffee, please." The barista asks, "Would you like anything to eat?" He looks at the menu for a moment. Then he says, "Yes, I'd like a chicken sandwich, please. Anything else?" "No, that's all. Thank you." The barista repeats the order and says, "Your order will be ready in about 5 minutes." The young man thanks the barista and sits quietly. While he is waiting, he looks outside the window. Cars are driving slowly because the traffic is heavy. People are walking home after work. Some are carrying shopping bags. Others are talking on their phones. A few minutes later, the barista calls his number. He stands up, walks to the counter, and picks up his coffee and sandwich. Everything smells delicious. He finds his table again. Before eating, he sends a short message to his friend. "I'm at the coffee shop now. I'll see you soon." He puts his phone away and enjoys his meal. The coffee is hot. The sandwich is fresh. For a few minutes, he forgets about work and simply relaxes. Sometimes a quiet moment with a cup of coffee is all we need. Now let's look at some useful English expressions from this story. The first expression is, "I'd like." This is one of the most useful expressions in English. It is polite and natural. For example, "I'd like a glass of water, please." "I'd like a cup of tea." "I'd like to ask a question." Instead of saying, "I want," many English speakers say, "I'd like," because it sounds more polite. Another useful expression is, "That's all." People use this expression when they have finished ordering. For example, "A coffee, please." "That's all." "2 tickets, please." "That's all." It is short, simple, and very common. The next expression is, "Your order will be ready." You will often hear this sentence in restaurants and coffee shops. For example, "Your food will be ready in 10 minutes." "Your coffee will be ready soon." It simply means you need to wait a little. Finally, let's learn this sentence. "I'll see you soon." This is a friendly way to end a conversation when you plan to meet someone. For example, "I'll see you tomorrow." "I'll see you at school." "I'll see you this evening." Now think about yourself. Do you like coffee or tea? What do you usually order at a cafe? Can you answer in English? Maybe you can say, "I usually order a cup of tea." "I like coffee with milk." "I don't drink coffee very often." Don't worry about making mistakes. The important thing is to keep thinking in English and keep speaking. Little by little, your confidence will grow. Excellent. You have finished another listening story. Take a deep breath, relax, and let's continue to the next story together. Listening Story 4. Welcome back. You are doing a great job. If you are still listening, I want you to remember one important thing. Every minute you spend listening to English is helping your brain become more familiar with the language. You may not notice the improvement today. You may not notice it tomorrow. But if you keep listening every day, one day you will suddenly realize that English feels easier. That is how progress works. Now, let's continue with another real-life listening story. This story takes place at an airport. Many English learners feel nervous when they travel because they are afraid of speaking English. But don't worry. Airport English is often simple and polite. Let's listen. It is 6 o'clock in the morning. The airport is already busy. People are arriving with suitcases. Some families are taking photos before their trip. Some business travelers are walking quickly to their gates. A young woman arrives at the airport 2 hours before her flight. She wants to have enough time. She walks to the check-in counter and waits patiently in line. A few minutes later, it is her turn. The airline employee smiles and says, "Good morning. May I see your passport, please?" She smiles and hands over her passport. The employee checks the information on the computer. Everything is correct. Then the employee asks, "Do you have any bags to check in?" The woman points to her suitcase and says, "Yes, just this one." The employee places the suitcase on the scale. The suitcase is not too heavy. Everything is fine. The employee prints the boarding pass and says, "Here is your boarding pass. Your gate is at 12. Boarding begins at 8:10. The woman thanks the employee and walks toward the security checkpoint. After passing through security, she has some free time. She walks around the airport. She looks at the shops. She buys a bottle of water and a small sandwich. Then she sits near her gate and watches the airplanes through the large windows. Some planes are landing. Others are taking off. She feels excited because she loves traveling. A few minutes later, an announcement comes over the speakers. Passengers for Flight 305 may now begin boarding. She stands up, picks up her backpack, checks her boarding pass one more time, and walks toward the gate with a smile. Her journey is about to begin. Now let's learn some useful English expressions from this story. The first expression is, "May I see your passport, please?" This is a very polite question. You may hear it at airports, hotels, or government offices. Another useful expression is, "Do you have any bags to check in?" If you travel by plane, you will probably hear this question. You can answer, "Yes, I have one suitcase." Or, "No, I only have a backpack." The next expression is, "Boarding begins at." This tells passengers when they can enter the airplane. For example, boarding begins at 9:15. Boarding begins in 20 minutes. One more useful expression is, take off. An airplane takes off when it leaves the ground and starts flying. For example, our flight took off on time. The plane is ready to take off. Now, imagine that you are going on a trip. Where would you like to travel? What would you pack in your suitcase? Try answering in English. You can say, "I would like to visit Japan. I would pack some clothes and my camera. I would arrive at the airport early." Remember, don't try to use difficult words. Simple English is powerful. The more you practice these everyday situations, the more confident you will become in real life. Excellent work. Welcome to the final part of today's lesson. First of all, I want to say thank you. You spent your time listening to English, and that is something you should be proud of. Many people say they want to improve their English, but only a few people practice consistently. Today you practiced, and every time you practice, you become a little better. Now, let's review some of the useful expressions we learned today. We learned, "Today is going to be a good day." You can say this every morning to start your day with a positive attitude. We also learned, "Have a nice day." This is a polite way to say goodbye. Then we learned, "I'd like," for example, "I'd like a cup of coffee." "I'd like some water." "I'd like to ask a question." We also learned, "That's all," a simple sentence you can use after ordering food or buying something. Next, we learned, "Take a deep breath." Whenever you feel nervous before speaking English, remember this expression. Take a deep breath, relax, then speak. We also learned, "You can do it." Never forget these words. Learning English takes time, but if you practice every day, you really can do it. Another useful expression was, "Stay focused." Don't compare yourself with other learners. Focus on your own progress. One lesson, one conversation, one day at a time. We also learned, "Little by little." This is one of my favorite English expressions, because that is exactly how language learning works. Little by little, day by day, sentence by sentence. Finally, we learned, every small step matters. Maybe today you learned only 3 new expressions. That is enough. Maybe today you understood only 70% of this lesson. That is also enough. Don't wait until your English is perfect. Keep learning, keep listening, keep speaking. One day you will notice something amazing. You will understand English without translating every sentence. You will speak more naturally. You will feel more confident, and you will realize that all those small daily lessons changed your English completely. Before we finish, I want to give you one simple challenge. Tomorrow, listen to English for just 15 minutes. Not 1 hour, not 2 hours, just 15 focused minutes. Listen carefully, repeat a few useful sentences, and try to use one new expression in your daily life. If you do that every single day, your English will become stronger than you can imagine. Remember, learning English is not a race. Everyone learns at a different speed. The important thing is that you never stop. Keep moving forward. Keep believing in yourself. And most importantly, enjoy the journey. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this easy listening practice lesson and learned something useful. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to English Horizon, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new lesson. I'm Hamza. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself. Keep practicing your English, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Goodbye.